Hi, everyone, and welcome. It is a Canadian conversation brought to you by Merit Canada. And our guest today, I'm Jordan Bateman, by the way, VP Communications for the Independent Contractors and Businesses Association in British Columbia. And I am joined by someone who came as far as you plausibly could come to visit British Columbia, Paul Dube, President of Merit Nova Scotia. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Jordan.
All right. Paul, it's been so long since I've seen you in person.
I know. Too long.
What's been happening in Nova Scotia? What's going on?
Well, pandemic is still
It's still happening there. Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Good. It's not just happening here.
Phase 5 was supposed to open up tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we just got word that it's been delayed for another 3 weeks.
Oh.
Phase 5 was pretty much the entire relaxation of social distancing as well as gathering limits and face masks. So that's gone away. But I think, the government in Nova Scotia and the people in Nova Scotia have all been very conscious and very knowledgeable about trying to be safe and healthy during the pandemic. So an extra 3 weeks, if that's what we need to do to stay safer longer, then that's what we'll do.
And Nova Scotia was part of the Atlantic bubble, which was a big deal and seemed to be, frankly, the best firewall in the country against COVID. Is it still part of the bubble overall, or are the provinces now kind of each on their own, or how's that?
Yeah, it got a little gray in terms of who was part of the bubble and when and timing. There didn't seem to be any communication amongst the provinces with regards to when we were going to start the next bubble. So it created a lot of confusion, especially between Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. Those two provinces do a lot of trade. It's the only connection that we really have from a land mass from Nova Scotia to the rest of Canada. So when things were a little sketchy, I guess, for the most part in New Brunswick, at one point, we decided to close the border to anyone that was not vaccinated. So you had to still isolate if you came from New Brunswick, but if you came from PI, Newfoundland, Labrador, everything was fine.
Yeah, that is great.
And it's still the case today because the caseloads are still spiking and we haven't been able to manage it as a group.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, one of the things we talk about a lot here in BC is how the restrictions seem to be a bit of a wavy line, and some things you're like, well, that makes sense, but then why does that happen? So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's been that way for a long time. I think we talked last year at sort of the 3, 4, maybe 6 month mark of COVID, and maybe haven't talked since. So how did construction handle the pandemic, and what's the state of it now in Nova Scotia?
Well, I think for the most part, we've been able to keep construction open, and that was our primary objective. We decided to work with other like-minded associations and even labor. We worked together to say it's an essential service. We understand that we need to put the protocols in place to keep everybody safe and healthy. And we listened to the public health orders. And for the most part, everything worked well. Things were restricted.
Yep.
Productivity certainly took a hit.
Yep.
I think the cost of doing business also increased with PPE requirements and not having the ability to have 6 people in a truck to go from job site to job site.
Yeah.
So it's been a challenge, but for the most part, we did everything that we think that we should have, and we didn't have any outbreaks, so to speak, on job sites, which is good.
Yeah, that is good.
So yeah, we kept things working and kept things busy, and that's what we all wanted to do.
Yeah.
But more importantly, safe and healthy for everyone in construction.
Yeah, well, I think construction had look, this is dark times, but it had a bit of a built-in advantage on this in that, our companies, our members, they know how to work safely. Like, that is the job number one, more focus on safety than ever before, and so adding another layer of protocol, well, it was just another layer of safety, right? Like, they understood how to kind of bring that into their work culture quicker maybe than some industries.
Yep.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, and then we did have the added thing with, making sure that there were enough honeypots on a job site.
Yep.
Making sure that they were cleaned on a regular basis as opposed to leaving it there for maybe a week and not doing anything. Having hand washing stations on construction sites. Those are the sort of things that we never really saw before.
Right.
So I think now, with those new practices in place, I think we'll continue to see that post-COVID.
Yeah.
At least I hope so.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Especially in competitive labor markets. Like, you want to treat your workers well, and giving them access to clean facilities. That's part of the job.
Yeah, you don't want to have an employee miss a day of work because of the lack of proper protocols at the work site.
Yeah.
And more importantly, we don't want them to have to go home and maybe expose their own loved ones to that same effect. So it's important for us as leaders within construction to make sure that we are able to continue that kind of protocol and practice.
For sure.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that Merit Nova Scotia worked with other construction agencies, associations. We did as well. What else did you kind of do to help your folks get through this pretty tough time?
Yeah, I guess answer questions. Like a lot of the times too, there are new programs that were coming out that federal government or even the provincial government, in terms of job subsidies or salary subsidies, small business loans. We wanted to make sure that the right information got out to them. And it's really important because we're all living through confusing times and still are. But for the most part, if you can provide simple, direct answers to their questions and give them the support that they need, which is they want to run their business. They want to have a project that's successful. They want to have a client that's happy at the end of the day. So anything that we could do to help them achieve that goal was very important to us.
Yeah, for sure. No, that makes mirrors a lot of what we're doing. It was amazing. The Prime Minister would announce something at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. on the steps of his cottage in Ottawa, and people would start calling, start emailing. You're like, guys, he just announced it. The bureaucrats didn't even know about it yet. And how do you roll out the program to them? And
yeah, and we all came together, like as associations. We came together. There was another entity within Halifax area that the Chamber of Commerce ran, and it plugged in all the right people from an association perspective, but also the bureaucrats, not only from the provincial government, usually from a deputy minister level, and also elected officials within the federal government. So MPs would be on the line. And what really helped us all was that these calls were happening on a daily basis in day one. And when we had a question with regards to a federal program, the MP that was responsible for it was typically on the line. Or if they didn't have the answer even, they would say, we'd come back. The next day they'd be able to then give us the right information. So it was almost like that old saying, more rowers in the boat gets you to the point a lot quicker. And we were all rowing in the same direction at the same time. Very challenging, but everyone had this clear objective that we wanted to make sure that everyone was informed and we can get through this. And we're still trying to get through it.
It's so true. Newfoundland, obviously part of the Atlantic region overall. One of my favorite stories I heard from a friend of mine who used to work in Newfoundland was that he'd listen to talk radio and someone would call in with a complaint about a pothole in a certain highway, and the radio host would go, well, let's just call the Minister of Transportation, and would call in like, Fred, can you fix this? And of course we can, there's a whole different kind of world there of people. You help your neighbor there.
Right. And in Newfoundland, Labrador, that was a very unique situation that still exists today. It's VOCM Open Line.
Yeah.
And Patty Daly runs
the show. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I still listen to it through the internet.
VOCM Open Line. I got to listen to this and hear it for myself.
And the interesting thing is that market is the voice of the people.
Yeah.
It really is. That particular program. And it's no word of a doubt. A minister may call in with an answer to a question that someone might have called in, but the Premier does as well.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a really plugged in, unique kind of environment, but it's also a free for all.
Yeah, it's so great. It's
crazy.
I'm gonna get the web address from you so I can listen to that, because I've heard the myths and the legends, and I want to hear it for myself.
It's there. It's real.
That's awesome. One of the reasons you're here visiting us at ICBA is we work together on providing benefit plans to group health, retirement, dental benefits to members. Your plan launched last year. How's that been going? And make the pitch. Come and join it.
It was a decision that was in the making for several years. We felt that from an association perspective and delivering better value to our members was to bring a product that we felt very strongly about and make it Nova Scotia based and Nova Scotia owned. So when we created the Nova Scotia Construction Industry Program or plan, it was all about delivering better value to our members. We wanted to have the right coverage, which was pretty much what we had before, but at a price point that was more competitive, as well as a service delivery arm that was based in Atlantic Canada, and that's what we delivered. it took a bit of effort to convince our members that this was the right move, because it's very difficult to kind of switch your benefit provider midway through a pandemic.
Yep.
Just the head start of construction season, and they believed in what we were doing. Great leap of faith with regards to our membership. I couldn't be more prouder for the efforts that have happened in that. The results have been phenomenal.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes your association more sustainable long term. It connects you better with your members, and they know that, if they have a problem with their benefit plan, they can call you and give you an earful. And
they know the throat to choke, so to speak, don't they? And
that's the way to go.
And with that, we're now positioned to do this same type of service at an incredible price point that's more competitive than what we've seen out in the marketplace outside of Nova Scotia. So our plan is to really now look at the other markets within Atlantic Canada. So New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland and Labrador will be seeing us more in the next few months.
Perfect little hint there. Okay, I got to ask you about this.
Yeah.
Conference Board of Canada, and I'm a bit of a data junkie, and so I love the Conference Board of Canada because they put out interesting reports, good-looking reports too.
Yep.
So they put out a 20-year economic outlook for Nova Scotia. Now, first of all, laying aside 20 years, who really knows? Like, you're really throwing darts kind of in a dark room. But one thing they talked about for Nova Scotia was a very worrisome picture for the workforce because of the aging demographics. Construction obviously generally attracts even younger workers than the average industry, so I think we see that first. How do we train? How do we find? How do we, help Nova Scotia construction companies find the bodies they need in order to build these projects?
It's a great point. Through the pandemic, one of the things that we've found is that now when we're trying to escape that last 18 months, there's been huge pent-up demand for construction. A lot of projects have been put on hold. If you drive around the Halifax Regional Municipality, what we call HRM, you'll see more cranes in the sky than we've ever seen in a long time. So a lot of condo development, multi-unit residential development, a lot of commercial equipment or commercial industrial construction as well. So what we're seeing as well, within Atlantic Canada, it's generally known that we have an aging demographic, and it's no different in construction. Our average age is roughly 43 to 45 years old in terms of construction, whereas someone out west might be more like the 34-year average. So we're butt up against that, and we're butt up against the fact that a lot of people now who are younger don't probably fully understand the different trades that are available or the career path that they can take and the excitement around that as well. We need to learn how to tap into that, but it really boils down to immigration. We need to get more diversity into our province and as well as the region. Yeah. For example, I think PEI has done a great job on their immigration strategy. They've done phenomenal work. You can drive around Charlottetown or walk around Charlottetown now, and you'll see the diversity, not only in the street, but in the restaurants, in the shops, in the services that are provided. And you see that a lot here in Nova Scotia as well. New Brunswick, I think, is getting some traction on that. Newfoundland and Labrador has a little bit more of a challenge. It's an isolated type of a community. And unless you've got the diversity, background, and the actual neighborhoods that can support people that are coming in from away, new Canadians, it makes it a little bit more difficult. But that's really where it has to go. We have to think about how do we attract more new Canadians, younger families especially, when they come into the region, and think of the trades and think of construction. One thing that we've seen as well, and I've heard this a lot, is when the pandemic hit and the closure, especially around the tourism sector, been phenomenally hit. They now are seeing a lot of the younger people that say were restaurateurs or they worked in a hotel. They've always thought of construction in the past. So now they're actually enrolling themselves into the trade schools. We're seeing a lot more uptake in that. So that's promising.
That's good. That's great.
Indicator.
Yeah. I think one other advantage that Nova Scotia might have would be it's such a beautiful place.
It is.
There's still reasonably affordable housing. Remote working opens the whole country. Like, if remote working really is here to stay for a big percentage of the of white collar workers, that could be another possibility of drawing younger families out.
It could be, and oddly enough, I moved to Nova Scotia from Newfoundland and Labrador back in August of last year, and the market from a housing perspective really heated up, and still is hot. And from everything I've been hearing, it's a lot of people that were coming in to Nova Scotia, especially from other parts of Canada.
Yep.
Ontario was the hotspot because of all the issues and whatnot.
Yep.
And the fact that people can work remotely from home, as long as you have that strong internet connection, which
Yep.
I think for the most part, Atlantic Canada has done a good job on.
Yep.
That you're seeing a lot of those younger people that are coming in. And you still see a lot of that remote access work. But at the end of the day, more people coming into the province because of that, I think is a great thing.
I totally agree. Anything else you're working on, excited about, worried about?
I think, this is an opportunity for all of us to really take advantage of what we've learned. I think we've become a lot more resilient.
Yeah.
I think we've become a lot more headstrong and a lot more focused on doing the job that we have to do, but more importantly, working collaboratively together.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing that I think the Zoom world has opened my eyes to, is the fact that you can now meet with 5 different people in a run of a day, whereas it was a challenge to do 2 meetings because of traffic and getting around. And having more people in the room virtually through like a electronic platform like video conferencing has really brought the world together. And it's not just restricted to your own backyard. It's across the entire country, and now it's across the world.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that kind of opportunity.
Yeah, no, that's very cool.
And growth across Atlantic Canada
Across our land.
of our Atlantic Construction Industry Plan.
Exactly. Now, when are we going to convince the Mayor Canada Board to have their meetings in Halifax so I can finally get out there?
I will beat that drum at the next meeting in October.
Please do. I don't have a vote, but I would second that motion. And if you're watching, please send us to Halifax. I want to go and heard so much about it.
Yeah.
And
You've never been?
never been to the Maritimes.
Well,
Been to
you gotta come.
been to New Hampshire and Massachusetts in fall, which is beautiful.
Yep.
But I'm told it's even better there. So.
It's fabulous.
All right, there you go. Thanks for watching. We're going to have another interview soon with Karen Lowe from Saskatchewan. So any tough questions I can ask Karen or no?
No. She's good. She'll ask you the tough questions.
I know, I'm getting ready. Anyways, thanks for watching and we'll be back next time.